This is the easier-to-read version of Animal Farm by George Orwell, retold and narrated by Sarah Simpson. Chapter 2. 3 nights later, old Major died peacefully in his sleep of old age. His body was buried near the fruit tree orchard. It was early March when old Major died. Even though old Major was dead, the smarter farm animals, like the pigs, remembered what he had told them about humans being evil and animals needing to fight for their freedom. Between March and June, the animals were very busy making plans to overthrow the humans. They had secret meetings to talk about how they would do it. Everyone knew that the pigs were the smartest animals on the farm, so it made sense that the pigs were in charge of the meetings and plans. There were 2 pigs who stood out as leaders, Napoleon and Snowball. Napoleon was a big, angry-looking pig with black and white spots. He didn't have many ideas. Napoleon didn't talk very much, but he was stubborn and could make other animals do what he wanted. Snowball had a more outgoing personality. He was a good speaker and lots of interesting ideas for making the farm better for the animals. He was easier to like than Napoleon. There was another pig named Squealer. He was small and fat. He had a very loud voice that nobody could ignore. He was good at talking, even if he wasn't good at coming up with ideas. He could convince the other animals to believe anything he told them. Napoleon, Snowball, and Squealer remembered everything that old Major said in his speech. They worked together to write down all of the ideas and summarize them, and make them easy for all the animals to understand. They called the ideas animalism. Napoleon, Snowball, and Squealer had meetings in the barn every night. The other animals would come, and the 3 of them would try to explain animalism to them. Many of the animals were too stupid to understand. They thought about who would feed them if Mr. Jones was gone, not understanding that they would run the farm, grow the food, and feed themselves. Many of them didn't understand why they should care about the rebellion if it wouldn't even happen until after they were dead. Molly, the pretty cart horse, was the most stupid animal of all. She was worried that there wouldn't be any sugar for treats if Mr. Jones was gone. She was worried she wouldn't have ribbons for her mane anymore. Snowball tried to explain to her that she didn't need sugar or ribbons. He tried to explain to her that being free would be better than sugar and ribbons, but Molly didn't look happy about it. Moses, the tame raven, created a lot of problems for the pigs. Moses didn't do any work, but he ate as much food as everybody else. The pigs worried that Moses would tell Mr. Jones about their plans, since he was Mr. Jones's special pet. Moses told stories to the animals about a magical place in the sky called Sugar Candy Mountain. He told the animals that nobody had to work on Sugar Candy Mountain. There was sugar and oats to eat there, and the animals could have as much of them as they wanted. Even though the animals were mad that Moses got food even though he didn't work, they still listened to his stories. Some of them believed in Sugar Candy Mountain and thought they'd get to go there someday. None of the pigs believed in Sugar Candy Mountain, and they tried to tell the other animals it wasn't real. Boxer and Clover, the workhorses, weren't smart, but they were 2 animals who believed in the importance of animalism the most. The pigs had to repeat information for them over and over again before they could remember it. However, once they were able to remember what the pigs told them, Boxer and Clover were the ones who were able to explain it to all the other stupid animals in a way they could understand. Boxer and Clover went to all the secret meetings. They led the other animals when they all sang Beasts of England at the end of the meetings. The animals didn't expect the rebellion to happen for a long, long time, so they were surprised by what happened at the end of June. Farmer Jones hadn't always been the best master, but he had always been able to keep the farm running. That year, things had gotten much worse. He worked the animals hard. He drank too much. The garden was full of weeds. The men he hired to work on the farm were lazy. The animals weren't getting enough food. One Saturday in late summer, Farmer Jones went to town to go drinking. He didn't come back until noon on Sunday. There was nobody to feed the animals. When they saw him come back, they got excited because they thought he was going to feed them, but he didn't. He was so drunk that he went into the house and fell asleep without feeding them. The animals were getting more and more hungry. By the time night came, they couldn't take it anymore. One of the cows used her horns to break the door on the bin where the food was kept. All of the animals ran over and started to eat. The noise woke up Farmer Jones. He and 4 of the workmen came out to the barn. They had whips and started to beat the animals. The animals were angry. Even though the animals hadn't planned to fight, they all worked together to stop the men. The animals bit and kicked the men until all of them ran away. When Mrs. Jones saw what was happening, she packed a bag and ran away too. Moses the raven followed her. The animals ran down the road and slammed the gate behind the humans. The animals hadn't meant to do it, but they'd had the rebellion and won. Manor Farm belonged to the animals now. The first thing the animals did was walk all over the farm. They couldn't believe it belonged to them now. The next thing the animals did was go into the room where Farmer Jones kept the reins, bridles, knives, and other things he used to control the animals. They took these things and threw them down into the well so they could never be used to hurt the animals again. They took the whips and burned them. All the animals cheered when they watched the whips burn. Snowball took the ribbons out of Molly's mane and burned them too. "Ribbons are clothes," Snowball said. "Clothing is for humans, not animals. Animals should be naked. We aren't like humans, and we shouldn't wear clothes like humans do." The animals got rid of everything on the farm that reminded them of Farmer Jones. Once that was done, Napoleon led the animals back into the barn. He gave them each 2 helpings of grain to celebrate. The animals sang Beasts of England, then went to sleep. The animals woke up happy the next morning. As the sun came up, they ran to the top of a hill and looked at the farm spreading out in front of them. All of it was theirs. The animals went to the farmhouse where Farmer Jones and his wife had lived. The animals had never been inside the house before. They walked through the house and were amazed by the expensive and fancy things they saw: plates, silverware, a radio. After a while, the animals noticed that Molly was missing. They went back into the house and found her up in Mrs. Jones's bedroom. She had found a piece of blue ribbon and was holding it up against her mane and looking at herself in the mirror. The other animals yelled at her, so she put the ribbon back and they all went outside again. The animals found some hams in the kitchen. They took them outside and gave them a funeral. Boxer used his huge hoof to break a barrel of beer and dump it out. Alcohol was bad, and the animals didn't want it around. All of the animals agreed that none of them would ever live in the farmhouse. They would keep it as a museum so that animals in the future could understand how evil human beings were. After breakfast, the pigs called a meeting. The pigs told the other animals that they had been using books to teach themselves to read and write. Snowball was the best at writing, so he was the one who climbed up the ladder and painted over the sign at the entrance to the farm. He crossed out Manor Farm and changed the name to Animal Farm. All the animals cheered. Next, the animals went to the barn. Snowball climbed up the ladder again. He painted the 7 commandments of animalism on the wall of the barn. The 7 commandments of animalism. Number 1, anything that walks on 2 legs is an enemy. Number 2, anything that walks on 4 legs or has wings is a friend. Number 3, no animal will wear clothes. Number 4, no animal will sleep in a bed. Number 5, no animal will drink alcohol. Number 6, no animal will kill any other animal. Number 7, all animals are equal. Snowball read the commandments out loud so the other animals would know them since they didn't know how to read. The animals all agreed that the rules were good. The smarter animals started to learn the commandments right away. "Comrades, we need to harvest the hay in the fields," Snowball said. "We'll be able to do the work better and faster than Farmer Jones ever could." Just then, 3 of the cows started mooing loudly. Nobody had milked the cows, and it was hurting their udders. Someone had to milk the cows. The pigs milked them, using their hooves to grab the udders. There were 5 buckets of milk by the time they were done. "What are we going to do with the milk?" one of the animals asked. "Farmer Jones used to mix it into our food sometimes. Is that what we're going to do?" "Don't worry about the milk," Napoleon said. "Us pigs will take care of that. Just go out to the fields and start to harvest the hay. That's the most important thing to think about right now. We have hay to eat. Snowball will go with you to get started, and I'll be there in a few minutes." All the animals went to work in the fields. When they came back at the end of the day, the milk was missing.